We have market reaction to an election that is still being tabulated and some new thinking on economic stimulus.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by the United States Postal Service, offering postage stamps for purchase at more than 40,000 supermarkets, drugstores, office suppliers, and wholesale clubs.
I'm David Brancaccio. There is no verdict in the presidential race, with morning breaking in the mountain states and not far behind in the West. But to what extent is our understanding of the road ahead already reshaped? Ian Bremmer advises corporate clients on political risk as president of the consultancy called the Eurasia Group. Good morning.
David, quite a morning.
Yeah, there's no verdict in the presidential race with dawn upon us here. Is there enough info yet for companies and market participants to reposition themselves based on the information we do have?
Well, we have some information. We know it's very close. And we also know that President Trump has announced that he's won and that he intends to contest it. And that contested outcome, which will take time to create certainty, certainly is information for the markets. We also know that it is very, very unlikely the Democrats make huge gains in Senate. And of course, that makes it much harder to see really big stimulus. It makes it harder to put through some of the more significant legislation longer term that the markets would have been scared of, but also harder to put through all of this relief cash that the markets wanted to see over the past several weeks.
Regardless of who ultimately is sitting in the Oval Office in late January. Interesting bet in the stock market. The NASDAQ future, this is an index full of technology companies, is up sharply. What might be the bet there?
I think most concerned about all of the various kinds of techlash that you would have seen if there was a blue wave, both in terms of increasing taxes, but also more intrusive regulatory policy. Even the left wing of the Democratic Party talking about the need to break up some of these effective monopolies. I think the markets, NASDAQ specifically, reacting to the fact that we definitely know that strong outlier responses to tech companies are virtually inconceivable in a much closer political environment.
You know, Ian, your corporate clients can't be too bewildered at the state of affairs this morning. I mean, a good bet has been that we would not know the full results the next morning.
I mean, back in January, you and I talked about this. Our top risk for 2020 for the year was the likelihood of a rigged U.S. election, that not only would we not know, but it would be contested and the outcome would feel illegitimate to a large piece of the population. I think what you need to be watching for carefully in the coming hours are how people respond. Because again, the president announcing that he has won has no force of law whatsoever. But Republican senators who decide that they are going to sit on their hands or publicly support what the president is doing as opposed to opposing him, that would matter. People coming out on the streets, that would matter. How the mainstream media, how social media is responding to all of this, that would matter. So this is not about how many votes have been counted, but it is about what's happening politically in the country, and those things can have consequences.
Ian Bremmer is founder and president of the political risk consultancy, the Eurasia Group. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Overnight stock markets are mixed, with votes in key states still being counted. In the minutes that followed President Trump's middle-of-the-night statement seeking to contest the vote, the S&P future fell by more than 3%, but it's back up now. The Dow future is up 112 points, 0.4%. But as we say, the NASDAQ future is up sharply this morning now, 3.6%, with about a half hour to go before the opening bell. European markets have come back from earlier losses. Here's Mohamed El-Erian, chief economic advisor to Allianz.
The reality is that the market was looking for certainty, and instead what the market has woken up to is uncertainty. And that's why you're seeing hesitation. But I want to stress, this is early days.
There's money going into bonds this morning, with the 10-year yield down a bit to 0.79%. Just now, in a kind of preview to the official jobs report due on Friday, there's news that private sector job growth in America slowed in October. The payroll company ADP says the economy added 365,000 jobs in October. That's about half the rate of job creation the month earlier. That tally is sometimes out of sync with the government job reports. The forecast for Friday on those is for 530,000 more jobs and unemployment falling from 7.9 to perhaps 7.6%. We'll see.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Avalara. Avalara has been working to take human error out of the tax compliance process using cloud-based real-time rate calculation and automatic return filing. Avalara, tax compliance done right. AVALARA.com. And by Staples, with supplies to get business done, from ink and toner cartridges to technology like webcams and networking accessories. More at Staples stores or staples.com.
Using the Associated Press assessment, California voters have approved a measure that lets the Ubers, Lyfts, and DoorDashes of this world keep their business model for gig workers who can now remain independent contractors. We'll have more flexibility, but fewer company benefits. Here's Marketplace's Nova Safo.
The passage of Proposition 22 ends a year-long battle that threatened to upend the very business model of major gig economy companies. Lawmakers wanted to force them to provide independent contractors benefits such as sick leave and unemployment insurance. The change was forecast to cost Uber and Lyft $400 million each in employee expenses. Neither company is profitable. Gig companies spent $200 million bankrolling Prop 22. They outspent their opponents, which included labor unions, 10-1. Uber and Lyft argued changing their labor practices would force them to cut 80% of drivers and potentially exit the California market altogether. I'm Nova Safo for Marketplace.
In New Jersey, South Dakota, and Arizona, voters have now approved the recreational use of marijuana, although there will be planning periods in each state before legal sales begin. Your public radio station is doing the work to get you the real-time election coverage that is reshaping our lives. What a night, what a day after. Here at Marketplace, we're doing our thing as well, focusing on context and following the money where we can. If you don't hear Marketplace with Kai Ryssdal during the usual time slot later today, you can listen anytime. Marketplace.org for that. I'm David Brancaccio. This is the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.